And first of all, I'm Randy Prentice, the host of Premier Sports Talk. First, I want to thank each and every one of you that have supported Premier Sports Talk. I'm the host, Randy Prentice, and I cannot give you all the appreciation and the thanks enough for supporting the channel. Now, what's been placed on my heart and my spirit is, if you don't know, if it's your first time tapping in watching the channel, I am a big-time Deion Sanders family supporter. Not just Deion Sanders, the entire family. Deion Sanders Jr., known as Bucky. Shiloh Sanders, who we all know is the social media phenom, although he's not playing in the NFL currently. And then we have, last but not least, SHEDEUR Sanders. They call him grown. They call him franchise. But we have to become, for the SHEDEUR Sander Nation, and we're called SHEDEURians, the aunties, the uncles. We watched the Sanders family behind the cameras for quite some time. We followed the Sanders family through Jackson State University, HBCU. We watched Shiloh. We watched SHEDEUR follow his father to the University of Colorado. Big time supporter there with the family, with the University of Colorado. And then we have the infamous what happened to SHEDEUR Sanders prior to the draft, during the draft, and after the draft. Only God knows what the outcome is for SHEDEUR Sanders. A lot of us want to see SHEDEUR Sanders play right now, today, this weekend, against the Baltimore Ravens. But is that really a good thing for SHEDEUR Sanders to get in the game? Is it really a good thing? The organization is not any good. It's not any good at all. They haven't had a franchise winnable quarterback since Bernie Kosar, the legendary Bernie Kosar, who is now battling for his life, currently needing a liver transplant up there in Ohio, had 2 emergency procedures this week. So please, even if you're not a Bernie Sanders fan, he's a good man at heart. He's battling for his life. He was supposed to have a liver transplant, and the liver ended up being infected and he couldn't have it. And then he started having some internal procedure. He had not 1, not 2, but 3 emergency procedures and still waiting for the kidney. I know I got sidetracked there, but anytime we got something going on in our lives, when we think we got it bad, somebody always got it worse. But let me get back on track. I'm going to be straight up and be honest with you all. This scenery in the background behind me, that's the Fort Pitt Bridge in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I was born homegrown in Pittsburgh. I am a die-hard Steelers fan. Here we go, Steelers, here we go. But with me being a SHEDEUR Sanders supporter, I put my wrist up. I support SHEDEUR Sanders. I do have a SHEDEUR Sanders football jersey. Some of you may say, well, how can I be a Pittsburgh Steelers fan and have a SHEDEUR Sanders Cleveland Browns jersey? Well, the truth of the matter is we can all have our own favorite teams, but we can also have our favorite players. But I also tell everybody, although I got that dog pound hat and I got that SHEDEUR Sanders jersey, You will never, ever, 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 ever see me wearing that particular NFL jersey outside where I reside. It's hanging on the wall, the hat's above it, and I'm going to support Shedeur. And I will stand up for Shedeur Sanders. A couple weeks ago, I do an NFL live game reactions on Sundays. I was gotten to a nice, I'm saying nice because it didn't get out of hand, got into a disagreement with a non-supporter, Shedeur Sanders, and we ended up agreeing to disagree. But I don't just hide behind the scenes and be a Shedeur Sanders supporter. I represent him if I hear anybody bash him either. But let me get back on track. What was placed in my spirit, and I've been meaning to do this because, you know, sometimes when we get emotionally attached to a situation, we got to get detached to a situation. Sometimes when we got too many toxins in our body, I need some water. Whenever we have too many toxins in our body, sometimes we got to detox and flush it out. So this particular episode, I'm calling it episode 1. Excuse me. I'm calling it episode 1 of SHEDEUR Sanders Chronicles. And the reason why I'm coming out with this SHEDEUR Sanders Chronicles, ever since I've been following SHEDEUR Sanders up there in Cleveland, Ohio, and I started my YouTube channel, I've been tapped in to ESPN Cleveland, to 92.3 The Fan, to Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, to the Dog Pound. I listen and see more Cleveland Brown content because of SHEDEUR Sanders than what I do for my very own Pittsburgh Steelers. Matter of fact, the majority of my content, because he's the hottest thing in the NFL, is on SHEDEUR Sanders. So that's why you see it so much. There's an emotional attachment to this young man. And when you think about it, this man does things from his own heart, genuinely. When he first got up to Cleveland, you know, there was a low poverty income apartment complex that there was a gas explosion there. And SHEDEUR Sanders, out of his own pocket and whatever sponsors he was able to get to help him, he showed up at the apartment complex, had food there, had games for the young kids and the people to play, gave out his legendary apparel, whether it be wristbands with dollar signs on them or the t-shirts or jerseys or whatever the case may be, or hats. He didn't just give his time. I mean, he didn't just send his money there. He personally went there. And I think many of you have seen those videos and those clips all go through viral over social media. And what's crazy is that the world the news always wants to spread negativity, but they never want to shine God's light that's within us that we give and share with other people in this world. You know, that day when SHEDEUR Sanders showed up and held that event at that low poverty apartment complex, he was supposed to be at the ESPN ESPYs and chose not to go there because he wanted to support a community that he just got to. He wanted to support the people that didn't even know him so that he can become a part of the community, not seeking anything in return. He gave his time and he gave his love to give hope to people who often don't have hope in our everyday lives. So in this first episode 1 of the SHEDEUR Sanders Chronicles, I'm going to be playing several video clips. Some you'll hear SHEDEUR Sanders in, some you'll hear 92.3 The Fan, G. Bush, very popular, big time content creator. He's not only is he has his own channel and production. He's on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. We got NFL quarterbacks. Sean King that speaks about the dysfunctional of the Cleveland Browns. And he will tell you he's not a big time, the word is glazer that they use over SHEDEUR Sanders. He just speaks the truth. He doesn't have any ill will towards Dylan Gabriel at all. But I wanted to pull the curtain back for a lot of people that don't know about what's going on in Cleveland and just what this young man, SHEDEUR Sanders, is going through. And it is only through his faith in God and the guidance through his father, Deion Sanders, and his family that keeps him whole, that gives him strength to continue to have faith and press on and know that in God's timing, not his will be done, not our will be done, but in God's timing will SHEDEUR Sanders see the football field. So without any further ado, I'm going to play this first clip.
Here's the hard thing for bad organizations, and I think we all can agree that based on recency, Cleveland is not a very good organization as we sit here, second week of November 2025, right? And I say that because when you make a mistake, which I've been very clear, concise, and consistent, that they overdrafted Dylan Gabriel. You cannot evaluate his college tape and come to the conclusion that he's worthy of a third-round pick. I just think that's a bad evaluation. Good organizations, when they realize they made a mistake, they change course. For example, I'm going to use the New York Giants. New York Giants went out this offseason. They paid Russell Wilson top half of the league starting money. Guess what they found out? Jackson Dart's better. So we're not going to continue down this path. We made a mistake. We didn't have to go out and assign that kind of capital to Russell. The kid we drafted, we think is better. We're going to move in that direction. They haven't looked back. Cleveland still...
So I want to take a pause right there. The voice you hear in here is Sean King, former NFL quarterback. Played many years in the NFL. I'm going to repeat it. Former NFL quarterback. Played many years in the league. He's doing an interview. By the looks of things, he's sitting in his vehicle. And he's on G. Bush, the Barbershop Show. And the first thing he speaks on is the dysfunctional mindset of the Cleveland Browns. And the reason why I want to highlight that is the Sanders family, as far as his kids, Deion Sanders Jr., Bucky, that's a whole nother separate story. He had it the toughest. He earned every bit of what his company, Well Health Media, has grown into. And me tapping into that, Well Health Media has been around well over 10 years. His clothing brand been around well over 10 years, but it's now recently just blossomed. So God will have a plan for us, but there's always, we don't receive the blessing right off. God doesn't give us anything that we can't handle at the present time. There's always a storm and a trial that we got to go through, that we got to get to receive his blessing. But back to what I was about to say about Mr. Deion Sanders, prime time, and talk when it refers to SHEDEUR Sanders. SHEDEUR Sanders played for his father all his life as far as being a head coach. SHEDEUR Sanders, yes, he had other coaches, defensive coordinators, offensive coordinators, had NFL, the greatest of all time, Tom Brady, mentoring him when SHEDEUR was younger. He had other NFL quarterbacks coaching him up, NFL receivers running routes for him. You know, they want to say that SHEDEUR Sanders is entitled. But whenever we provide a way for our family, why should they not receive a blessing of the fruits that was allowed for us to receive only by God's grace? So if y'all want to use the entitled word, use the word entitled. But the one thing about SHEDEUR Sanders is he is not arrogant. If you watch and listen to the man speak, he does not disrespect people. If anything, he humbles himself within while others disrespect him. And even when SHEDEUR Sanders was drafted by the Cleveland Browns, the main thing that came out of the interview from the general manager, from the Cleveland Browns general manager, Mr. Barry, was that, and it's even on the phone call, when he received the phone call, he said, you got to come in here, you got to work, you got to prove people wrong. But like SHEDEUR Sanders ain't been working his whole life. Just because Mr. Primetime Sanders, one of the greatest athletes of all time, not only on the MLB baseball field, but also in the NFL, Hall of Famer, won a Super Bowl, played in the World Series, just because his dad was well off. Mr. Deion Sanders built SHEDEUR for such a time as this, for his time whenever he gets the opportunity in NFL. But let's get back to what Mr. Sean King is saying about SHEDEUR Sanders and the Cleveland Browns.
Not a lie. They are still unwilling to do the right thing and say, you know what, we made a mistake in where we selected Dylan Gabriel. You know, regardless of how you feel about SHEDEUR Sanders, should he have been first round or should he went where he was in the fifth, he's a better prospect than Dylan Gabriel. So for them to right the ship, they got to admit they made a mistake and then be willing to move on from it. Hey, it happens. It's not the first mistake a GM's going to make. It's not the last mistake. But when you compound it by being unwilling to change course, then I think that's when, as an owner, the Haslam's really have to look at making a change.
You know,
So I want to pause right there. Within the Word of God, our pride, whether you're male or female, woman or child, our pride will destroy what God has for us. Our pride will get in the way of the blessings that we are to receive. And the best thing we can do whenever we make a mistake, whether it be at our job, whether it be in our relationships, whether it be with a family member, is to admit that. Let me put it to you like this. We gotta learn how to become the bigger person, even when we're done wrong. And when we make a mistake, admit the mistake and move on from it. Don't dwell in a repeated cycle that keeps us in misery, that keeps us in dysfunction. I'm like flabbergasted for a word right now, because the history of these Cleveland Browns and how bad they've been year after year after year after year, and they can't get it right. There's some things in this world we just won't never know. But the culture got to change. A person's ways got to change in order to obtain a different outcome. But Kevin Stefanski, you know, and it also could be this, I do want to say this, head coach of the Cleveland Browns, he could be listening to the owner saying that we knew we wasn't going to have a good year this season. We're going to win as least games as possible. I'll speak to the media and say, you know, we got to do better than what we did last year. Last year they went 3-14. This year they only got 2 wins. But Mr. Jimmy Havlin said that 3-4 is not going to cut it. 3-14 is not going to cut it. But Kevin Stefanski could very well be, but we never know, could be listening to the owner and purposely not playing SHEDEUR. With the record being as bad as it is right now on this day, this Friday on November the 14th, right now the Cleveland Browns are sitting at the number 4 pick in the NFL draft and the number 18 or 19. That second first-round pick in the NFL draft, which they got from the Jacksonville Jaguars by dropping back in last year's NFL draft, giving them Travis Hunter. Depending on what the Jacksonville Jaguars record is will determine. The better their record is, the Jacksonville Jaguars, the higher that first-round pick will be. The worse the Jaguars record is, the lower that draft pick will be. But let's tap back into this. Sean King, G. Bush, the Barbershop.
It's funny that you mentioned that because I was thinking about that as we prepared to do the show. And I was thinking about some of the moves that other teams have made. You know, the Tennessee Titans, I mean, generally speaking, when you draft a quarterback and that quarterback is taken by a certain regime, it usually you give them a little bit of time because that's their guy to kind of develop. But when you watch the Titans, they had no problem moving on. When you saw, Gerard Mayo in New England, 1 year with Drake May, had no problem with Brian Dable just drafted a quarterback in Jackson Dart who's promising, and they moved on as well. So it's kind of crazy to me that people are saying, "Oh, be cautious," and it's like, but I'm seeing other teams move because they're not going to play games.
And a message to the owners: stop allowing regimes that you aren't fully committed to be in charge of selecting a young quarterback, because you don't always get the chance to make the change and get it right. Chicago got extremely lucky. Like
Caleb Williams
had no chance to succeed that first year. 50% because I don't think he was mature enough mentally and ready to be a starting quarterback. Secondly, because it was a bad regime. Now they got lucky. Ben Johnson chose them. What if Ben Johnson would have said, "I'm going somewhere else"? And this was somebody not as qualified to develop a young quarterback as it looks like Ben Johnson is. They might be in a situation where they got to give up on Caleb. Like, stop allowing lame duck regimes to draft young quarterbacks. It's hard enough when you get the right young quarterback for him to be successful. You almost make it impossible when you're continually changing.
So that was Sean King again. Continually changing, not allowing for development. And that's a whole nother episode. But the Cleveland Browns have never, ever, since Bernie Kosar, developed the NFL quarterback. They've had Baker Mayfield there. They ran him off. Johnny Manziel, that's another story. He wasn't putting in the work. He was doing things he shouldn't have did with the team. That's why things didn't work out for Johnny Manziel. But whenever you watch this live airing, because I want to get into some other video feeds, is that drop your comments in. Let me know what you think. Do you want to see SHEDEUR Sanders play with this dysfunctional NFL team currently, with how bad the offensive line is and the receivers not playing well? In my heart's a heart, I would like to see him play. I know he can throw the ball downfield. We all seen SHEDEUR Sanders, but is it the best thing for him? Cam Newton just came out today and said that, that he talked to SHEDEUR Sanders personally. And the best thing he can do is continue to learn how to be a professional football player. Keep grinding behind the scenes. Keep working hard. And in time, his opportunity will occur. So let me get back into this real quick.
Been doing that consistently for the last 30 years. And that's what kind of what leads me into my new point. To get out of some of this stuff, You know, Deshaun Watson, obviously, you know, they pointed at a lot, and obviously with the draft picks and him being injured and not paying the dividends, I get that. But the way the NFL is set up, I'm confused that they're not using this opportunity to get yourself out of that situation. If you get a young rookie quarterback in the 5th round who shows some level of promise, you then don't have to worry. He's making minimum money. And then you can get out of Deshaun Watson without having to say we're going to take the cap hit. I think what confuses a lot of people is their reluctancy to even, like, give it a chance. Like, it seems like one side is hell bent on not doing it.
So let's pause right there. They just brought up Deshaun Jackson and all this as reference to Cleveland Browns. He had 2 back-to-back Achilles injuries, tore his right shoulder up, had to get surgery. The Cleveland Browns are still on hook against their salary for Deshaun Watson, a total over $80 million. Y'all heard me right. A total of $80 million. $80 million. He was given a fully guaranteed contract of $230 million, by which that the NFL, what you all may not know is that the NFL has an NFL council that is, I know, at a minimum of 4 NFL owners and the NFL commissioner. When Deshaun Watson got that fully $230 million contract, they immediately had an emergency meeting, y'all, with all the NFL owners. And it was told to them, basically read between the lines, we will not offer another NFL player another fully guaranteed contract again. When Deshaun Watson got his contract, Lamar Jackson tried to get a fully guaranteed contract. Didn't happen. Russell Wilson tried to get a fully guaranteed contract. Didn't happen. Patrick Mahomes tried to get a fully guaranteed contract. Did not happen. It ain't like the MLB or the NBA. The NFL owners knew that giving players a fully guaranteed contract, they could not sustain the league on because it would break them. So NFL owners only want to get out the bare minimum out of their pockets. NFL makes so much money off of commercials, off of endorsements. You see, they keep expanding out. I think this year was the most we've seen international games being played. Brazil, Madrid, London, all over the world. Germany, the one that was just happened. But let's get into, I want to give you 92.3 The Fan, what the word is behind the doors, words being spoken, ESPN Cleveland, words being spoken, Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, words being spoken. But this is the first time, though, I do want to get into SHEDEUR Sanders' first game before I get into what's being spoken about SHEDEUR. You know, when they bring up SHEDEUR Sanders currently now, this is going on the 8th week in the NFL season. No, the 10th week, because the Browns are 2-7. They don't want to give SHEDEUR Sanders the credit of when he balled out in that first preseason game. When he got into that first preseason game, unlike until this very day of not receiving any NFL first-team practice reps, SHEDEUR Sanders was put out in the first preseason game against the Carolina Panthers without receiving no first-team reps. They thought they was going to knock him down. But what God had intended, he raised SHEDEUR up and showed his glory through SHEDEUR. People pulled, Kenny Pickett pulled a hamstring. Dylan Gabriel pulled a hamstring. Joe Flacco was injured. SHEDEUR Sanders was the last man standing. The first will be last and the last will be first. And he went out there and balled out. Matter of fact, SHEDEUR Sanders has the most touchdowns and passing receiving yards in that first season preseason game since any of the quarterbacks have played in an NFL game. But yet they want to say SHEDEUR Sanders ain't ready. Yet they want to say SHEDEUR Sanders can't read coverage. Yes, SHEDEUR Sanders, they want to say, can't throw a certain ball. But they will say he's accurate. But then they want to bring up that second game against the Rams when he got sabotaged, and the word is sabotage. That's as politically correct and how politely that I can say it. Yes, he was sabotaged. Put out there with the fourth and fifth stringers. Dylan Gabriel got to play with the first and second stringers in the first half. But then when SHEDEUR Sanders go in, they pulled all the first and second stringers out. They put him in there with people that got cut the very next day. Instead of giving them slant passes to throw, Kevin Stefanski set them up and sent them deep routes, knowing that the offensive line was not going to be able to hold up to protection. And just like SHEDEUR Sanders didn't have an offensive line in Colorado when he played, his mind resorted back to what he knew. He drifted back. He ran backwards because he didn't have an offensive line in Colorado and he had to run for his life. His mind resorted back to what he knew. So that's bad habits he got to break. It's, you know, that's real talk. That's something he has to break and learn. But after that first game against the Carolina Panthers, let's listen to what General Manager Barry had to say.
You're not fully proud, kind of. Listen, no, I'm kind of proud. Look, first side, what? Perfect. That was what you made. You operated like. I love when you tell the facts, dude. No, but it's okay. It's okay. Listen, you did a nice job tonight, okay? So just take what you learned from tonight, apply to the joint practices, and then the next preseason. All right?
I love it when you tell the facts, dude. You know, they want to question SHEDEUR Sanders' maturity, but he got a good spirit. A young man has a good heart. And you heard the youthfulness in talking to the general manager, Mr. Barry. Yeah, they both had on the hot mics. The general manager was taken back the way he was talking to him. You can see it in the video clip. He was trying to give him his stamp of approval. And all SHEDEUR wanted to say was, are you proud of me? Like any son or daughter to their parent. Are you proud of me? Are you proud of me? Are you proud of my how I performed? That was a genuine, real feeling. And what's crazy is that in that clip, it's posted on my short video feeds, it's all over social media. You can see Kevin Stefanski disdain, disgust, his facial expression, his body language, you know, standing in front of them, listening to the conversation. Which brings us back to, does the man not like SHEDEUR Sanders because he's well off, because he's actually bigger than the brand in Cleveland, because he's endorsed by Nike now, Delta Airlines now, different clothing brand, his own clothing brand now. His branding deals are bigger than his NFL $4.6 million contract for 4 years. For the total of 4 years, he lost so much money getting knocked out of the first round down to the fifth round. His total salary is $4.6 million. That's pennies to SHEDEUR Sanders. His legendary apparel, his endorsement by Nike, and all the other sponsorships that he has. It's just crazy. So let's get into another sound feed.
I know people don't want to rush him on the field, but if you're thinking about using one of the first-round picks on quarterback next year, we need to know. We need to know for sure that this guy cannot be the answer. Because I'm telling you right now, they go and draft a first-round quarterback next year because they didn't play SHEDEUR enough this year, and he ends up going to another team within the next 3-4 years and starts and ends up being a very good quarterback for somebody else. You'll never hear the end of it, ever. You think Baker Mayfield balling out in Tampa Bay is bad? Oh, just wait until SHEDEUR Sanders goes somewhere else and balls out. It'll be terrible.
This is the time where, like, I was pounding the table to play SHEDEUR out of the bye, and we can't because he has some back injury. But now you can't, like, we can't even be mad at him, you know, because it's like you can't play the guy who's not practicing. You can't play the guy who's not healthy enough to even be active on game days. So it's just, I'm curious, how did he get hurt? Like, I know he's not getting first team reps or anything, but he's still doing stuff in practice. And I know he's putting a lot of extra work in, staying late. So he's doing stuff. I get that, but I don't understand how there's this guy in college, and I watched a decent amount of his games when he was at Colorado because they were on TV all the time. And I watched this dude just get pummeled some games and just pop right up and make throws. You know, it's like, that was one thing I liked about it. I watched this guy just take shots in the face. Ew. While he didn't stand up and deliver the football, I walked myself right into that. Go.
So that was the Dog Pound. That's another pod that's on YouTube. The Dog Pound. They are big time family. First of all, they're big time Cleveland Browns fans, loyal. The big time SHEDEUR Sanders fans want to see him out on the field, especially with all the bad play that we see week after week after week that's occurring with Dillon Gabriel. But you heard the young man, one of the men, say that he watched SHEDEUR in Colorado and he watched him get a pummeling because there was no offensive line, and how he just got smashed in the mouth and got back up and balled out. We all seen that, and those that you haven't, all you got to do is go on YouTube and search for SHEDEUR Sanders highlights when he played back in Colorado, and you will be blown away. The man truly is talented enough to play in the NFL. But they're speaking about how it would be terrible for SHEDEUR Sanders not to play or get traded off somewhere without him ever having an opportunity to get on the field and play. Because another key thing that came out after SHEDEUR Sanders got drafted by the Cleveland Browns, and General Manager Barry said that they couldn't pass on the talent of SHEDEUR Sanders because he knew that his talent would outplay his draft pick and be more valuable to the organization. You hear that? There's already talk that saving SHEDEUR Sanders, not letting him get out on the field so they can trade him off in 2026. That could be God's plan for him. That could be the best possible thing. But me personally, I'm thinking, you know, Jimmy Haslam, the reason why I'm thinking this is that he said before the season started, he always does his training camp interviews, the owner, and said that the fans would see both Dillon Gabriel, the rookie, and SHEDEUR Sanders before the end of the season. Everybody's well aware and know that Dillon Gabriel, Kevin Stefanski's guy. He picked him. He shouldn't have been picked in the 3rd round pick. If you don't know, you're about to know. Kevin Stefanski and Dillon Gabriel have the same sporting agent. It is what it is. There's a connection there. Also, Dillon Gabriel's old Oregon head coach, college football coach, has the same agent as Dillon Gabriel and is really good friends with Kevin Stefanski. So there is an agenda why SHEDEUR Sanders hasn't seen the field yet. Not only just because the owner may not have told them to place SHEDEUR out there. Because in order for SHEDEUR's draft capital to go up, the world has to see what SHEDEUR really does on the field. The rumor is that before the NFL draft ended, even though SHEDEUR Sanders was a 5th-round pick, the rumor is that they was trying to get at a minimum, a 3rd round or even a 2nd round pick for SHEDEUR. And since he didn't get it, he didn't get traded. And another thing I want to drop here is that somebody was calling from Maryland. Don't know who that is. Another thing I want to drop is that SHEDEUR Sanders didn't get picked until the 5th round, pick 144. But what you may not know of it is that SHEDEUR Sanders, the Baltimore Ravens at pick 141, also wanted SHEDEUR Sanders, but a conversation was held by the Baltimore Ravens organization. They spoke to both SHEDEUR Sanders and his father, Deion Sanders. And with Lamar Jackson still being young and got many years to play in the NFL, they opted out. They asked not to get picked by the Baltimore Ravens. Maybe in hindsight, they may be thinking differently because of how he's being treated in Cleveland. That maybe they wish that they did allow the Ravens to draft him at pick 141. We all know Lamar Jackson's been out for several games because of a hamstring pull. He's back now, but we would have definitely seen SHEDEUR during that time that Lamar Jackson was out with a hamstring, but he would have had to get right back and being behind Lamar. But also at pick 146, they want to say that the Cleveland Browns didn't know, but I find that hard to believe, is that the Philadelphia Eagles was also going to choose to pick SHEDEUR Sanders to back up Jalen Hurts in Philadelphia. But Andrew Berry, the general manager for the Cleveland Browns, gave away 2 draft picks to Philadelphia to get SHEDEUR Sanders. Not 1, not 2, to get 2 draft picks. And what you may not know, Andrew Berry, before becoming general manager, he was in with the Philadelphia Eagles football organization. And his brother is still there, his twin brother. So a deal was made, and they was able to get SHEDEUR Sanders from Philadelphia, another good Super Bowl winning organization. And SHEDEUR, because he believed he had a better opportunity to start, chose asked not to get picked by Philadelphia Eagles and be with the Cleveland Browns. All right, let's see. Just 2 days ago, listen to what a YouTuber, big town guy, read Threads X clip from what the Baltimore Ravens defensive coordinator had to say about this upcoming game against SHEDEUR Sanders. Had to go back into the library. My apologies, y'all. That call that came in messed up my live feed. Here we go.
Since Ravens defensive coordinator Zach Orr was asked if Baltimore is spending any time preparing for SHEDEUR Sanders this week. He stated, "We've definitely done some work on SHEDEUR. There's been a lot of buzz with the Browns backup quarterback SHEDEUR, and when he is going to play. Do you spend any time during the week looking at the tape, preparing for him?" He said, "Yes, definitely. We always look at that. Our scouts do a great job of preparing us who could possibly be coming into the game. We also do that backup quarterbacks because you want to know what you could potentially be facing. So we've definitely done work on SHEDEUR Sanders last game and getting ready for this game."
That was a big-time content creator, John the Liquidator, reading the quote from the defensive coordinator from the Baltimore Ravens. Good organizations. That's another football winning franchise. With Coach Harbaugh, not only preparing for the starting quarterback, he disclosed some of his secrets that the defense does on the defensive side. They prepare who the possible backup quarterback may be. Now the next thing, let's listen to Tony Rizzo. I love listening to him in the mornings. ESPN Cleveland on SHEDEUR Sanders.
Has a chance to play Sunday.
No. I can't figure out this. Why would you draft him and welcome in the circus, not even always his fault, that comes with him, only to not play him? Like what? Only the Browns. Only the Browns would do this.
Take the negatives
and none of the positive.
And none of the positive.
It's just plain insanity, y'all. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over again and expect a different outcome. It's just crazy. But again, only got like 3 more live clips to play. Or part 1 of the SHEDEUR Sanders Chronicles is to help this live feed get pushed out. Drop your comments in. Tell me what you think, what you heard, what city you in, who your favorite NFL team. How do you feel about SHEDEUR Sanders? Good, bad, or indifferent? Hit that thumbs up button. If you haven't subscribed, hit that notification bell. I purposely didn't open this one up live is because I want to get through this and I'm gonna get it to be posted live to the public after I air with this. On the pathway of 4,000 subscribers, because you, each and every one of you that have blessed the channel, thank you for being a blessing. And I've always say, may you receive a blessing back double fold, not only to you who watch, but to your extended family. Thank you all for supporting the channel, Premier Sports Talk. 92.3 The Fan. After this, we only got 2 more clips. Let's listen in.
Ravens game there, JP, has been Mary Kay or Buddy Spencer German. I've heard, and by the way, if you've also heard other beat reporters suggest, if Dylan doesn't play well in this game, not only could this be his last game, but that this could be a game where maybe, much like the original Baltimore game where Dylan got the action for the first time, that we can actually see SHEDEUR Sanders on Sunday. And a very valid question you had is, well, do we know if SHEDEUR's been practicing? So it wouldn't be fair if he's not getting normal reps.
Yeah, because last week left it off, I think it was the 21st comes to mind, October 21st, Stefanski told us he was getting 0 reps.
Yep, and so why we say that is, today Kevin Stefanski was asked about SHEDEUR's practice reps. Here's what he had to say.
No, he's done a really nice job, including just now coming off the field with the red zone drill that we did. So continues to work very hard, doing a nice job of meetings, doing a good job on the field.
So that was him saying no, he's not getting any.
We missed the part before that, by the way.
Yeah.
There's a whole clip before that where basically he's asked, has any amount of reps changed between SHEDEUR Sanders and Dylan Gabriel, or is Dylan getting basically all the reps? And he said no, like nothing's changed. And
so I'll ask you, does that change whether you want to see SHEDEUR on Sunday or not?
Well, hold on. There's two layers to this, right? Because I think there's also the part of the conversation that we've been having now for a couple of days of what exactly do these guys see in practice that would be able to tell them we need to be clamoring for SHEDEUR. It surely stamps down the idea that the only people that are watching SHEDEUR play in practice are not the veterans that can have the voice to this all. It's in fact the guys in the post-practice drills, as Kevin talked about in that clip. Those are the only ones, and those are young players. Those are practice squad guys, those are rookie players. Those aren't the type of guys that are going to speak out and say, bench Dylan Gabriel, we want to see SHEDEUR Sanders.
So that speaks directly to the narrative of, well, SHEDEUR can't be that good because we don't have
Miles Garrett kicking down the door and saying, play him or I'm not playing on Sunday. Because Miles isn't watching him actually play in these practices. And so, like, yes, Stefanski's doing a good job of at least on his own doing these post-practice drills and trying to see where he thinks maybe Shedeur could be. That's good. All right, great. Let's keep that up. But as far as the veterans are concerned, like Devin Bush isn't out there playing against SHEDEUR Sanders. That's not existing. At least 2 months ago, when he was off to the side and he was at a completely different field, when he was throwing to ball boys and practice squad members and everything else, the way that was set up, when Dylan Gabriel was the backup, at least in that setup, maybe they catch a glimpse of him throwing a football from 35 feet away. They don't even have that opportunity now. Yeah, I just think, I don't know. Do you think the Browns would put Shedeur in on Sunday without first team? It doesn't sound like it. No, it doesn't sound like it. Now, would they do something like what they did with Dylan in week 2? You imagine that? Like 2 drives, a drive, if the game is a blowout? Sure, I guess that's on the table. But the idea that he's going to come in there at the half, this doesn't sound like the type of quarterback situation where he's coming in at halftime. This sounds like the type of quarterback situation where Dylan could stink up the joint to the high heavens, which we've seen him do already this year. And that's Dylan's game to finish out.
Y'all hear that? Today is November the 14th. That was a live episode from 92.3 The Fan. That particular live airing comes on from 2 p.m. to 7 p.m. I've tapped into this SHEDEUR Sanders content and what's going on behind the scenes. A lot of you all don't listen to it, don't get exposed to it. It can make your blood pressure rise. It can make your blood pressure drop. You don't know what to believe or not. It drives you insane. And I just had to let it out, release some of this negativity. Whew. Because only God knows the plans that he has, not only for Shedeur, but for each and every one of us. Man, the stuff this man is going through behind the scenes. You heard in that live airing is that today on November 14th, the last time they asked Kevin Stefanski, the coach of the Browns, was SHEDEUR Sanders started getting any first-team reps yet? The answer was no on October 21st. And on November the 14th, he just stated in a live game interview that I watched and I posted on my channel, PremierSportsTalk, that he said, no, nothing has changed as far as SHEDEUR Sanders getting any first-team reps, even as the backup quarterback. Typically, as a backup quarterback, the starting quarterback, if there's 12 plays that they're practicing on for the game or several plays, the starting quarterback get the first 9 and then the backup get the last 3. But excuse me, y'all. He's not getting them to this date. So, and I'm going to get into another point on that. I don't want to speak on that yet. So he's only getting post-game practice. They run the plays after everybody's done with the people. Kevin Stefanski even came out on his live interview today. He said on Mondays and Fridays, those that did not get in the game, they run the plays on those days, Mondays and Fridays. And that's supposed to be part of the developmental. But that's the players who haven't played. That's not gelling or getting in sync with the first-team players. First-team offense going against the first-team defense. Now, when he practicing with the scout team, he gets to go against the first team and the second-team defense. Shedeur even said that. That's all over social media also. But the point I want to make up is, if anything ever happens to Dylan Gabriel, right now, Kevin Stefanski has no intention on playing SHEDEUR Sanders. He has not put any time and effort and investment in giving him the proper playing time, at least 3 plays through the week during practice, and let Dylan get the rest of them so it would be more comfortable in the event emergency happens for him to ever get in. So Kevin Stefanski could never, ever take credit for the development of SHEDEUR Sanders. Ever, y'all. Ever. In the last 2 video clips, I want y'all to hear from Shedeur. One, Shedeur is going to speak on not getting practice, being able to practice with the first team. And then, last but not least, to end this first episode of the SHEDEUR Sanders Chronicles, a SHEDEUR speaking on to us. Speaking to us.
But unfortunately, if it's not, I think he'll be fine because he's been going about everything the right way. Right? Everybody expected SHEDEUR to come in and act as though, you know, things should be given to him, and he hasn't done that at all. And Nick, we had a chance to hear from him today.
Yeah, we certainly did, E. And you got a couple of different cuts here. This first cut, it's going to be on him not getting any first team snap through the first 2 days of practice.
It's not my place, you know, to answer. To even be able to get the answer to that. I feel like it's not in my control. So I'm not even gonna think about that. I have that even in my thought process of why it is. Like, there's a lot of people that want to have the opportunity to be at this level, and I'm here, and I'm thankful to have the opportunity. So whenever that is, it is. But it doesn't make me feel down, or it doesn't make me feel left out or anything, because I know who I am as a person, I know who I am as an individual, and I know what I can bring to this team. So I can never feel less than, you know, in any circumstance.
Did y'all hear what he said? They can't break that young man's spirit. They can't. I want to refer this to something spiritual. You know, in life, we all may have our cliche Bible verses, but it's one thing to have a cliche Bible verse, but it's another thing to be able to stand on God's word. You may have often seen it yourself where people got their Bibles sitting in the passenger seat of the car or sitting in the back seat by the window where the sun's beaming down on it and it's faded up. That's where the word's being carried. But when we have the word of God within us, we have a foundation. And when we got a foundation, even when the ground crumbles, we can stand on God's word because we believe in it and we trust in it. And we know that through him, he will renew our strength, no matter what our circumstances are. And no matter how things may appear, or actually is, that he's not being treated in a positive manner, he's not allowing it to tear him down. He's not allowing it to defeat him. More than anything, is growing his strength. This young man is a prime example of his faith in God, his trust in family, and know that there's a purpose in the storm that he's currently in. There's a purpose in the situation that he's in. God don't give us anything we can't handle until we are ready to receive it. And we heard SHEDEUR Sanders say many a time, you know, he gets excited when you hear him speak on it, that he trusts in God's timing. He's having the opportunity to cook. He's learning things he didn't know. He's developing things that he didn't have within him. So even in the fire, he's getting purified. He's getting restored, and he's being uplifted. And the last one I want to leave with you all is, let me find it real quick so we can close this live airing out. Here it is.
Hey, one thing you gotta do, stay focused, bro. I know things may be hard. I know sometimes, you know, you may be feeling down. Stay focused, bro.
Stay focused. from SHEDEUR Sanders. He's using his life experiences to tell us to stay focused. Stay focused. We didn't know that when, through the NFL draft process, and even the family didn't know that his father, Deion Sanders, was battling cancer at the time. And sometimes you have to be a sacrifice so that others may receive the blessings that God has in store for another family member or loved one. But through our trials and tribulations, trust in God, believe in God, and stay focused. I remember starting this channel up on July the 4th. First time ever not seeing the fireworks in my life, and the dismayed feeling I had in my spirit, and there was a whisper. It said, start a YouTube channel. And how hard it was to get the first 50 subscribers. Just to be able to, you got to get 50 subscribers just to be able to come on live. And hear Premier Sports Talk. Through the grace of God and you all blessing the channel, we're about to hit 4,000 subscribers. All because of you. So I want to thank you all. Thank you for becoming a part of the Premier Sports Talk channel family. Hit that thumbs up so it'll get pushed out. Hit that notification bell. Listen with me, talk with me, and let's rock. I'll come back on live tomorrow. I'll be doing a live game reaction. First time on a Saturday, live local sports tavern. I'll be on for the Georgia Bulldogs and the Texas Longhorn fans. I'll be out with a couple friends. And then I'll probably be coming back on. I'll probably be doing back-to-back Sunday. Depends on how I feel after Saturday night. Watching that Georgia-Tennessee game. If y'all want to know who I'm rocking with, I'm picking Texas for the upset just to mess with all these Georgia people down here in Atlanta. You know, I like having fun. A little dangerous too. You know, sometimes they get upset with me talking trash, but it is what it is. Nothing but love for everybody. It's all in fun. But I will definitely be back on live game reactions. Georgia Bulldog, Texas Longhorn fan, Longhorn game. Until I see you again. If you didn't know, now you know. I gave you some behind the curtains content of the SHEDEUR Sanders Chronicles, episode 1. Be blessed.